Hey friends, it's Missy again. Thanks so much for stopping by today. I'm back with a new layout and video for Hip Kit Club, and I'm using the 2020 October kits. This is my first layout using the October kits, and this is for Cut File Tuesday, which means I'm going to use one of the exclusive cut files that you can find over on the Hip Kit website. And I'm going to use this really pretty leaf wreath, and I cut it twice using two of the pattern papers in the main kit. One is an exclusive, I think actually both of these may be exclusive, but anyway, one's pink and one has a deep orange pattern. And I wanted to kind of incorporate one of these frames from Simple Stories. I wanted to use the yellow scalloped frame, but I didn't want that dark blue flower on it. So I'm going to cut this floral cluster with the big pink flower from another frame and glue it on, and so it looks like it came on this other frame. I was thinking I wanted to make something with pink, orange, and that yellow golden color. And so when I saw this wreath, I thought, okay, I'm going to do a wreath layout. I haven't made a wreath page in a while, and I thought that the frame would be a nice place to put my photo and anchor it down. And I kind of played around with the two cut files. I wanted to layer them, and I didn't know for sure if I wanted to have the pink one on top or the orange one on top. So I just experimented for a little bit, and I decided to go with the pink on top. And I want to kind of offset it slightly, just like that, and so you can see kind of like a shadow effect of the orange paper just barely peeking through. And this just gives you some dimension. It creates a little bit of depth. And I like that. And so that's where I'm going to begin. I haven't even chosen my photo yet. I just know the layout design at this point. So I'm going to worry about my picture later. So I wanted to add some variation to the cut file using some of the Lindy's powders that we get in the color kit this month. So I'm going to take my trusty white gesso there and my finger and just smudge some gesso all around this wreath to kind of prep it for some liquids, and also to give it a little bit of a distressed look. I like how it looks kind of weathered now, and it's not just a flat color. You know me, I can't ever leave a flat color alone. I have to add something to it. I don't know, it's my thing. I love doing that. So these are two of the Lindy's powders that we get this month. Very rich, bold fall colors. This pink color here is called Autumn Maple Crimson, and I'm just going to mix a little bit of it up there on my desk, and then just very lightly add a little bit of water, a little bit of the color, and then dab it right onto the wreath on some of these leaves, and then use my finger to smudge it. And I think this makes such a big difference. And this is what I mean by adding variation. You know, when I first started this wreath, it's just a flat pink color, and just by adding the gesso and little dabs of this pink paint or the powder, it just instantly creates some darks and some lights, and it just brings it to life, makes it look a little more realistic. And you know, with the cut files, you can cut them on anything. The cardstock, the pattern papers, you can get so many different looks from just one cut file. So the second color that I'm adding here is called Red Hot Poker Orange, and it's this really deep, bold, burnt, golden orange color. Does that even make sense? But it goes really well with this pink, and I just wanted some touches of that color on the wreath. And so now the wreath looks totally different. I love it. Here's my photo. I love this picture. It was taken in the fall, so this is technically a fall photo. It's my husband on the couch being attacked with cuddles and kisses from our girls, and it's just so funny. I took a whole bunch of pictures during these couple moments, but this is just one of them, and I think it's so cute. I wanted to kind of tuck it on top of the frame instead of sticking it behind the frame, but I wanted to be able to kind of layer it underneath this little Cozy Days banner piece. So I'm going to use my X-Acto knife there and my scissors to kind of cut it so I can raise up the end piece, kind of like that, so I can tuck the photo at an angle. I don't want it to be perfectly straight. For some reason, when I use frames like this, I like to put the photo on top of it. I rarely glue the photo underneath it, but that is a perfect option for this. I just kind of like to make it look a little crooked because, you know me, I like to have things a little cockeyed and crooked. So that's where we're going to go. And I'm also going to use pattern paper for my background. I almost used white, but I thought, no, let's use something different. So I'm going to go with this light pink with a lattice design on it. And this is an exclusive pattern paper. And I'm going to do a lot of mixed media on it. So we're going to coat it with white gesso, mostly around the middle. I want the edges to be very visible. And in the end, you can definitely tell that this is pink paper here. I'm not going to completely cover it up and make it solid white. The gesso is going to give me a little bit of white space, but it's also going to prep this pattern paper for all the liquid and all the powders and things that I'm going to add to it here. Because, you know, regular old pattern paper is not really meant for water. So the gesso helps strengthen it. It acts as a primer, and it just gets it ready. So I know how the design is going to look. Now I want to jazz up this background. So now I've got all three of the colors for this month. The third color is a yellowish color, and it's called Marigold Yellow Orange. So I'm just going to start with the pink and go for it. It's one of my favorite techniques. Honestly, anybody can do this. You cannot mess this up because all you do is add some color, spray some water, and then turn the paper all kinds of different directions and let the color run. I mean, anybody can do this. I like to do this when I want to create what I call a big color wash on the background. And that just means I want a big chunk of pretty swirly, multicolored watercolor on the background. And all these colors are going to run together, and it's going to create whatever color you would call this. It's more of a, I don't even know. It's not pink. It's not orange. Yeah, you can just call this color whatever you want. It's a combination of all of them, but it matches because there's going to be a lot of different shades of pinks and like blush color, that golden yellow color, hints of orange. So I like to just add the color, add the water. Okay, look at that color there. If you would believe it, and I've said this before, but these magical powders are called magicals for a reason because there are little hidden gems of different colors in some of these powders. And in the pink powder that we get, there are little specks of blue. And so when you add the water, it turns to purple. You can kind of see a little blue streak once I move there, right there on the left section there, right there. So you can get some very interesting colors with these powders because they have little hidden color specks in them. And so it's fun to kind of experiment with them and see what different colors you can come up with. And as you can see, as I usually do, I wind up adding, you know, too much water because that's what happens. I just keep playing with it. I keep adding the colors. I keep adding water. I keep letting it run and spread. And it kind of winds up being the same color. And then it dried and look what happened. This is no surprise to me. I have a history of my Lindy's powders disappearing when I use the white gesso. It just, I don't know, they react some strange way with white gesso and they dry really light, almost disappearing sometimes. So I'm going to kind of leave the soft background that I've got, and then I'm going to go into some older color kits. These are also Lindy's sprays, or the Lindy's products, but they're sprays. And I'm going to use a couple of really very bold colors and kind of mix and match with the powders from this kit. So this bold pink color here is called Hibiscus Rose, and you can see the darkness of it. It's very bold. I'm going to mix in a little bit of the pink powder with it, and then that yellow color up at the top is called Grab-a-Guy Gold, and it's got lots of golden shimmery powders mixed in with it. And I'm just trying to create some color kind of behind the wreath. So you'll be able to see these colors kind of showing through it. And when this dries, it's going to look totally different. Something I've learned about the Lindy's products, the sprays especially, is they are very bold when they come out of the bottle, but they do dry a little bit lighter. And I do add water to them, so I do kind of water the color down a little bit, which is what I'm going for. I don't want this to be super dark and super bold. I want it to be on the lighter side, but still stand out a little bit different than that soft background. Now this here is the Jen Hadfield Gold Glitter Spray. We got that last November, so almost a year ago. And it's basically the same thing as the Heidi Swapp Gold Color Shine. And I wanted to add some of that in because I wanted this to have gold through it, because I'm going to be using some other gold things later on. And once this background is done and it's dried, right here, you can see how it definitely dried lighter, but look at that gold shimmer. Oh my gosh, I love that. I think this background turned out good, turned out well, and I like it. You can see there what I was talking about. The pink was so bold, but when it dries, it definitely lightens up. So don't be afraid of, you know, when you first use it and think, oh my gosh, this is so dark. For me, when I use the gesso and I mix and match and add water, it does tend to soften up, which is what I wanted. That's exactly how I wanted this to look. Once I finally got it there, it's always an experiment and trial and error and mixing and matching, and yeah, but I like it. I keep working at it until I get it. And I did let this dry and I flattened it out overnight so it wasn't as warped. I let that glue dry as I glued it down, and then I stitched all around the edges, or not the edges, but the center of the wreath with some gold thread. So it is not moving. And I know that I want the frame right there, and that pretty much makes the layout, and the rest of it is going to be embellishing. So I like that about cut files. I like that it helps determine, you know, how your layout can go. It helps narrow down your ideas, and so you're not struggling to figure out, you know, where do I start? What do I do here? And where is this going to go? The cut file kind of helps with that. These are some of the Jen Hadfield, I think, floral die cuts. So I'm going to use some of these. I'm going to cut off the white border. For some reason, these some of the cut files, why did I say cut files? Some of the die cuts in that pack, like that one right there, look how thick the white border is. I feel like that would totally take away from the look of this page, so I'm going to trim it off. I don't want the white border. The white border of the frame, the floral on the frame, is very small, so that to me doesn't stand out as much. But if the white border is too much, I like to cut it off. So what I was thinking of doing was having a big floral cluster around the left side of the frame, and then create another one over to the right. And I'm going to combine stickers, chipboard, die cuts. We're going to use light pink, that orangey color, that pinkish reddish color. This is the Simple Stories sticker book. Get lots of simple stories. I think it's called Cozy Days collection. It's their newest fall collection. Again, here's another example where I'm going to trim off the white border of a sticker, but since this is just a thin paper sticker, I'm going to stick it to some cardstock first. And I like how this is coming together. I feel like at this point it's just going to be adding in small details. So I'm going to glue down what I know is going to be there. I did add some adhesive foam behind the photo to give it something underneath it, since the photo was sitting on top of the frame. I didn't want the photo to kind of sink down because chipboard automatically creates dimension, and so I wanted the frame and the photo to kind of be the same height. And then I'm going to add in some thread because, you know, I love my thread. I'm going to add in that burnt orangey color kind of over to the upper left, because the background wound up not really having any orange on it. It's mostly pink and yellow with some gold. So I wanted to tie in that orange color. So that's where the thread is going to come in. And then a couple of the flowers are also sort of that color. Very slowly, very carefully start to glue down. And I'm using Scotch tacky glue in my fine liner bottle there. I almost always get asked that when I forget to mention it. I love that glue. It's been the only glue I've ever used in that bottle, and it has worked like a charm for a really long time. So I'm going to glue the frame down. I love that little sheet of gold puffy leaves over to the left. I wish I had a bunch of those because they're the perfect size for just tucking in and adding little accents with smaller flowers like this. And they're just soft, very bendable puffy stickers. They're great. So this is some of that golden yellow thread. I'm going to add that over here to the left for a pop of that color and a little bit of texture over on the left side of that floral cluster. Yeah, I love these. They're great. And they're gold, and they're the perfect gold. They're not too shiny, but they're not too matte. All right, so here's what I've got so far. I went ahead and bent up all of the leaves. Look at that dimension. Leaves are so good for bending up like that because you get instant depth. And I think it just makes things pop off the page. It just brings it to life a little bit more. And yeah, I'm going to tuck in some pink thread, which you can't even really see because the background has so much pink in it. But I'm going to wind up adding another title down there eventually. Now, I wanted to use some of these gold word phrase stickers or thickers. I wasn't sure where this was going to go. I wanted to use this one that said every moment matters because, you know, this was just an everyday fun random moment. Both of my girls on the same couch, which rarely happens with my husband, and they were both kind of like fighting for his attention but laughing at the same time. It was quite funny. So it was, yeah, it's just everyday moment, and those moments matter. So that's why I like that phrase. Now I wanted to use this piece that says together. It's kind of like a puffy sticker from Simple Stories, but I didn't want it to be black. So I'm going to totally change it. And this is actually really easy to do. It just takes some time. And I'm going to smudge white gesso on it. You know me, gesso is the answer to everything. So I'm going to let that dry, and now it looks kind of white. So I'm going to weather it up a little bit and just use my fingernail to kind of scratch it, to kind of peel a little bit of it off. And then I'm going to go back over it with the nozzle of that Jen Hadfield gold glitter spray. And it's very thin, so this is just going to be the first layer. Add a couple things to this to completely alter it, and I think the end result is really, really pretty. So always look at your embellishments, you know, not for the color that they are, because there's always, almost always, a way to change the color of it. If you've got some gesso and some sort of paint or color, you can change it. All right, so while that gold is still a little wet, I'm going to come back in with the Red Hot Poker Orange Lindy's and just dab a tiny bit of it on my brush with a little bit of water to add a little bit more color to this, because I felt like I had a lot of pink already on the background, and I wanted this title to show, to you know, stand out, but I didn't want it to be so bright that it wasn't the right color. I don't know. I didn't like the way that looked. You couldn't really see it. So I'm going to keep working at it. I'm going to come back in with the pink after I just said I didn't want it to be pink, but all these colors are kind of blending together. This is the Autumn Maple Crimson. Let it dry, and I love how that looks. It looks gold, but it has little hints of orange and pink in it, and you would never know that this was black when it first started. I think that's much better. I feel like this layout isn't really, I don't know, I felt like a black title would kind of not go with the whole light pink, orange, yellow vibe. So that's why I wanted to color it. And then to make it stand out a little bit more, I tucked in some more of that burnt orange thread against the pink background there, and I feel like that kind of makes it stand out a little bit more. And I really, really love the finish of that. So Cozy Days Together, that's going to be my title. And then I'm going to come back in with this die cut that I cut up earlier, trim off a couple more leaves, and add those in a few spots. And I hadn't even really thought about green on this layout, but obviously, you know, when you're talking flowers, you're going to have leaves, and they're almost always green. And I just feel like that they're not taking away from the layout or anything like that. I feel like it looks natural to have green leaves, even though that's not really in the color scheme, I guess you could say. One more green leaf up there at the top, and then I'm going to come in with some more stickers. I tried a couple times to place this sticker somewhere, and I just could not find the right spot for it. I stuck it up top there for a little bit and see how I liked it, but I felt like it took away from, I don't know, I didn't like it. I kind of wanted to leave the top scallops of that frame alone. I'm going to wind up leaving that blank because it just, I don't know, I didn't like the way it looks. I'm going to use a couple of these phrase stickers. I'm going to stick them to some white cardstock first and then cut them out so I can move them around and make them a little bit more sturdy, because that sticker book is fantastic, but they're just paper stickers, so they're pretty thin. And I wanted to pop one of them up, so I felt like it would be a little more sturdy if I added cardstock to it, and then I could pop it up with some adhesive foam and add a couple of those in. And here's where I try to move this little phrase sticker, and I actually wound up losing it. I think it stuck to something, and now I can't find it. I'll probably find it when I'm not even looking for it. So I'm going to decide to add the Every Moment Matters over to the right there, but I wanted to soften up the gold shine, so I smudged a little bit of white gesso to kind of make it more matte, and then I went ahead and glued those down off camera because that took a while. Letter by letter I glued it down because nothing sticks to gesso. Here I am again trying to put that sticker somewhere. It just never really looked good anywhere. I don't know. So we're not going to go with it. I am going to cut up a couple more of these flowers here to finish off this little cluster. I'm going to add this one that's kind of a pinkish red color over to the right of the word every. I tried it right there. I wanted to add something into that little nook in the middle of those words there, but I wanted something really small. So I looked through the sticker sheets. I went back to the Simple Stories sticker book, and I found a really tiny orange flower, but it had white border, so I'm going to have to cut it off as usual because I didn't want it to stand out that much. And I stuck it right there underneath the E. You can barely see it. It's so tiny right there. But I feel like that just finishes off that cluster area. And I found another couple of Simple Stories puffy stickers that are flowers. I'm going to add in a couple of those. And then I'm almost done. I'm going to add in my journaling here. And I do wind up using a black pen because I felt like the gold pen would not show up at all because it's just too light, and I didn't know what other color to use. And so I just add a little bit right here underneath the gold alphas. And I think it winds up being okay because there are some dark colors in the photo, but you can see there, I think it turned out. But anyway, that's the final layout. I like how this turned out. I like the color scheme. It was just another fun experiment to, you know, dive into the new kits and finally decide what to use because everything's so pretty and awesome. And like I said, once I got that cut file decided on and I got it cut and I decided on the frame, it just kind of helped the layout come together. Just a matter of embellishing and putting things where you wanted them to go. I'm really the most excited about that title. Don't be afraid to change the color of something because you see how easy that was to do. Yeah, you just have to be willing to get a little messy, you know. And if you can do that, then you can do this for sure. But anyway, I hope that this gave you some ideas to try or inspired you in some way. I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you in my next video. Thank you so much for watching.